Nahmaduhu wa nasalli ala rasulil kareem wa nashhadu an la ilaha illallah wahdahu la sharika lah wa nashhadu anna Muhammadan abduhu wa rasuluh. Rabbi shrah li sadri wa yassir li amri wahlul uqdatam min lisani yafqahu qawli. Respected viewers and listeners, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. This Quranic understanding program is presented by Adult Quranic Education Program, Srinagar. Today we shall turn to read few more verses from chapter 2, Al-Baqarah. Please focus your attention towards your copies of Quran, which I'm sure you are holding in your hands now. In today's class, it is verse number 261. The discussion completes here. Two statements of Prophet Ezekiel and Prophet Abraham. Now are instructions or encouragement for the believers to spend in the good cause, to spend their money in good cause. You should remember, it's not about obligatory zakah, but a Muslim doesn't only stop, he doesn't stop after fulfilling certain obligations. It is only a starting point for a believer. The way, for example, we pray 5 times, we have to, that is not the end point, that's the beginning. A true believer doesn't stop there. He starts offering nafil prayers, optional prayers, tahajjud prayers, late evening, in nights and daytime, early morning prayer, addition to 5, that's starting point. Similarly, a true believer fasts for a month of Ramadan. But he doesn't stop here. He goes ahead. He starts fasting in other months, 2 days, 1 day, 3 days every month, just to purify his own self, purify his soul and body. Similarly, same is about zakat. When a person, believer spends his wealth, a fixed portion, 2.5% out of his yearly earnings or savings. That's not the end point, that he will stop there. That is the starting point. And that other spendings are nafil spendings. We call them sadaqat, or optional spendings. Islam encourages that. Quran says here in this verse what we are studying now, verse number 261. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. In the name of Allah, the most compassionate, the most merciful. Masalul ladina. Example of those people. Yunfikuna amwalahum. Who spend out of their wealth. Who spend their wealth. Fi sabilillah, in the cause of Allah. Kamasli haba. Example is like a seed or a grain which is sown. Ambatat sabasanabila. And this simple seed produces 7 spikes or 7 years. Fi kulli sumbulatin. In every that spike or in year, miyat to habba, or produce or their growth 100 seeds. That means out of a single seed, 700 seeds grow. Wallahu yudaifu liman yasha. Thus Allah multiplies the effects of spending liman yasha, for whom He wills. Wallahu wasi'un alim. And Allah is all encompassing, and He has knowledge of everything. This is about spending in the way of God, fi sabilillah. Fi sabilillah in Islamic terminology means for good cause. It can mean defending Islamic state or Islamic geographical boundaries and ideological boundaries. Sabilillah also means spend for some good cause, for spending for orphanages, for hospitals, for nursing homes, for educational institutions, for the better, anything to spend for the betterment of a community or betterment of the human beings around, or at individual level to help a widow, a destitute, an orphan, a wayfarer, or spend wealth to release people from debts, or buy freedom of slaves. Anything good, which is that fi sabilillah. Because it is done, a true believer does all these good things simply to seek pleasure of God, simply to follow His commands. He does it only to be seen by Allah, so that he gets reward from Allah in this world and especially in the next world. The Quran says, when a person does this, spends his wealth with utmost honesty and sincerity and dedication, without ever thinking that I'm doing any favor to the person whom I'm helping, nor does he ever think that the person concerned whom I have helped, he should tell me thank you very much. He should be grateful to me. He should be always with his head down before me. No. Anybody who does this, that's not for God, spending in God's cause, the cause of Allah. And that's not acceptable according to norms set by Quran. Quran norms are a person, whatever he does, he simply does it to seek pleasure of God, to seek God's approval, and just to please Him. And without thinking of that he's favoring any person whom he's helping. Or he should, Quran explains time and again at dozens of places that a true believer, when he spends out of his wealth on an orphan or a destitute or widow or any needy person, he never imagines that the person concerned should offer him thanks or should be grateful to him. No, he says, no, oh man, I have not done anything that you should be grateful to me. This is my duty. I'm duty bound. My wealth doesn't belong to me. It is all given by Allah the Almighty. I am not the master of my wealth. I'm just a custodian. And I'm under obligation to help you. In fact, this is as Quran says, this is your portion in my pocket. So I'm not doing any ihsan. I'm not doing any favor to you. But it is, in fact, your favor upon me if you accept my simple help. And he doesn't highlight his spendings. He doesn't do this, a true believer, to be seen by others, to get fame, and to be called Hatimatai. And he doesn't think that his name should come in the newspapers and news channels. That such a person has donated this much amount. He's not about that. He's doing it just to seek pleasure of God. That is the true charity according to Quran, which is due for reward. It is about this that Quran highlights in these verses. It's going to be a long statement. We shall read it for quite some time. It's just the first verse about that. That Masalul Ladina, example of those people, Yunfikuna Amwalahum, who spend their wealth fi sabilillah, in the way of Allah. That means anything good. Kamasla Habba is given examples like this. It is like a seed. Yes, you have spent something just to seek pleasure of God out of total honesty and dedication, without expression of favor or expression of generosity for anybody. You spend it in total integrity and sincerity. The Quran says it is as if you have sown a seed, single seed. And then this seed germinates into a plant. And this plant grows. When this plant is mature, leaves appear right and left. And in the axils of the leaves grow spikes or ears, spikes. As we say in maize plant, for example, as we grow put a simple maize grain in the soil, and after some it sprouts, it germinates, a big plant comes out of it, and then the cobs arise on left and right. And on those cobs we see there are wooden cobs, and there are arranged hundreds of those maize grains. And such there are many. And that means a single grain or single seed produces hundreds of grains. It is this way it's compared with a sincere charity, which is done only to seek the pleasure of Allah. In this example, that Masalul Ladina Yunfikuna Amwalahum, example of those people who spend their wealth, their possessions in the way of Allah for good cause. Kamasla Habba is like a seed, Ambada Sabasanabila, which produces 7 years. That means which the seed germinates, produces a plant, it grows, and it bears 7 years left and right. And in every spike or ear, Miyat Habba, there are 100 seeds, as we see. I gave you a simple example of the cob, that maize cob. We see hundreds of seeds arranged on the cob. And how many cobs, how many we see get out of this depends upon the sincerity, how much sincere one is, and in what circumstance a person spends of his wealth, how Allah multiplies. That's why Quran says, "Wallahu yudaifu liman yasha." Allah increases manifold for whom He wills, but it depends upon the level of sincerity. More are you sincere, more seeds grow from a single seed. More, there's no limit to it. Here we can see just by multiplication table, one seed produces 700 seeds. But that's not the limit. That's why Quran says, Wallahu yudafi. Allah may increase even many more times. There's no limit to Allah's mercy and grace. And Allah's generosity is unlimited. He may increase it because Wallahu wasi'un alim. Allah is all encompassing. And He has knowledge of everything. He knows your heart. He knows your intentions behind these spendings. He knows your niyyah. And accordingly, He rewards you. Sadaqallahu al-Azim. وصدق رسوله النبي الكريم والحمد لله رب العالمين.